Welcome to the Gay Buddhist Forum, where teachers from all schools of Buddhism offer their perspectives on the Dharma and its application in modern times, especially for LGBTQI audiences. These talks are offered freely to the world and made possible by appreciative listeners. If you would like to support our efforts to share the Dharma with underserved audiences, please visit gaybuddhist.org. There you can donate, find a list of upcoming speakers, or enjoy many hundreds of these recorded talks dating back to 1996.
And our speaker today is Jim Wilson. He's a regular speaker. I think we all know him pretty well. Jim.
October's my favorite month. I always like October. So autumn is my favorite season. So it's good to be here. Do people have any Dharma questions from that they've been pondering over the last month or month and a half?
No more than that?
What?
3 years or just 1 month?
If you've been pondering a question for years, we'd love to hear it. Okay. How many people have a home altar? Yes. And how many people have some kind of formal practice of their home altar on a regular basis? Daily? Okay. Just curious. I'd like to talk a little bit about home altar practice, and I'm going to be very general because different Buddhist traditions have different specifics about the home altar practice. So I don't want to, give a specific recommendation that might interfere with your particular tradition. But for lay people in particular, a home altar practice is a really excellent way of practicing the Dharma. So it's very, it's aesthetically pleasing to the individual. It's attractive, and it brings. It's a way of centering oneself every day and reminding oneself of the orientation of one's practice, and sort of just checking in on a regular basis. It's. A home altar is very common. I would say, in fact, that it's standard in the Buddhist world. No matter what Buddhist tradition you're talking about, whether it's Vajrayana or Pure Land or Theravada, home altar practices or a home altar presence is the norm. In fact, it would be very unusual in traditional Buddhist cultures for a layperson not to have a home altar. It's not only true in Buddhism; it's also true in Confucianism or Taoism. So, a Confucian home altar would be for the purpose of ancestor veneration primarily. Taoist home altars would be for the propitiation of certain deities. But it's not common in the West. And it's interesting to ponder why that is the case. Why is it so widespread in non-Western spiritual traditions, and largely it is not the case in Western spiritual traditions. Did you have a comment or?
Yes, so maybe for altar, maybe a small picture of Buddha or a deity with a small candle would be an altar, or?
I think it would qualify. So I'm going to get into specifics like that, in a bit. It's been my experience that when Western Buddhists first set up a home altar, there's a kind of a reluctance, or I know some people. I had one student who sort of put it in their kitchen cabinets. And there's a little bit of a reluctance and a certain sense of awkwardness or a little bit of embarrassment. And I think that the unstated view in the West is that there is a separation of the secular and the sacred. And that when you put an altar in your home, you're violating that unstated sort of agreement, that unstated premise, which is very strong in our culture. So spirituality and religion is what you do at church, which is over there. And the secular is what happens at home. And I mean, I'm sort of stating in an extreme terms. But I remember reading an article once about children whose parents had become extremely religious, right? And how the children reacted to their parents all of a sudden becoming deeply religious. And it was interesting that one guy became very concerned about his mother because she put an altar in her home. It was a modest altar, but it was a signal to him that his mother may be getting a little, it's necessary to face that, if you do put a home altar in. There's also a sense, it's like, how are you going to explain this to your friends, who may not be part of your, spiritual trip? How are you going to? And when I was in Korea and Japan, since everybody had a home altar, there was no explanation required. But here it would be like, oh, that's my home altar, and then your friend goes, what? Well, why?
I just want to say, you say the West, but I think even within the West there are cultures that lean more towards that than others. Like if you go down to Mexico,
that's right.
You don't see altars, but you see tremendous iconography
Right.
everywhere.
Religious tchotchkes all over the place. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe we're really talking about Protestantism, right? As opposed to, but in any case, it is. I wanted to mention it because it is sort of a common, reaction, that people have, when, if a Dharma teacher, say a Tibetan teacher or a Pure Land teacher says, well, now I think it's time for you to set up a home altar and do a daily practice. There's sort of like, eek. That's unusual in the United States. It's not the norm. But it's important. It's important for us to remember that for most of the world it is the norm. That we're the exception about that. Separation of church and state, separation of the secular and the sacred is very strong and important to us. And that manifests in many areas of our life. And one of the things is it's rooted in the idea that it's rooted in our particular history, in which there was many centuries of violent religious conflict. And so out of that historical heritage is you want to keep religion sort of we don't talk about religion. There's that. You remember, the things that you don't talk about in polite company, like sex, politics, and religion. See, and because the unstated fear is that will give rise to hostility. Differences of opinion will give rise to hostility and violence. If you look at the history of Buddhism, that has Dharma debate and Dharma discussion among different Buddhist groups and between Buddhists and other spiritual traditions has been the norm throughout Buddhist history. In India, all the time. Nagarjuna debated his views with people. That was absolutely standard. They were public debates, public discussions. The audience would get involved. They would ask questions. That same sense was carried to China, where there were many, many public debates between Buddhists and Taoists, Buddhists and Confucians, or the three of them together. And in Tibet as well. Japan also has a very long history of public discussion and debate between different Buddhist schools. So that idea that a disagreement among religious points of view will erupt into violent confrontation is not part of the Buddhist heritage. So people don't automatically assume that will be the case. One of the burdens of our own history is that religion is volatile. Religion is a very volatile issue. It can really give rise to severe confrontation, and so we don't want to bring that into the foreground. And if you put an altar in your home, that's what you're doing. And so there's this. It may make yourself, and it may make some people uneasy. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? But nevertheless, I think it's a really good thing. Being uneasy isn't necessarily a bad thing. The reason I think, there's a number of reasons why I think the home altar practice, as a form of practice, is a really wonderful thing. One is precisely that it does break down the barriers between the secular and the sacred. I think that's a good thing, not a bad thing. If all things have Buddha nature, so not just the temple. And it also, a home altar practice reminds us of the direction we want to take in our life. As we move through our day, there are many distractions, ups and downs in our lives. We forget about the teachings, and having a home altar is a way of coming back to center. Many people begin their day with a home altar practice, and it's sort of just like going, yes, this is the direction I want to move. I want to remember this. I want to keep this in mind. It cultivates that awareness on a regular basis. And it reminds us of the presence of the deathless and the unborn. That's pretty neat. So that's the ultimate teaching of the Buddha is to teach the deathless and the unborn. Now you're not going to be reminded about that on television. Or in the newspaper, or at work, or in the doctor's office, unless he happens to give you, some important news. But so checking in with this, it's like, oh yes, there is the presence of the transcendent. I call it the presence of eternity. There is. Did you have a question?
I'd like you just to describe the deathless and unborn.
You want me to describe the deathless and the unborn? Sure. The deathless and the unborn has two aspects that I would quickly name. One is non-grasping, non-clinging. The non-graspable nature of all existing things is deathless and unborn. That is their true nature. The true nature of all things is like space, ungraspable and limitless. And the second aspect would be peace. So the Buddha often said nirvana is peace. So the deathless and the unborn, you don't have to take my word for it. I can prove it to you. So when you hear the sound of a bell, so the sound of the bell arises, and then the sound of the bell comes to an end. That state of mind that you have when the bell ceases, that is the mind of non-grasping. Okay? And that is the mind of peace. So it's that mind, that specific mind, is the awareness of the deathless and the unborn. That's it. So that's what I mean that you don't have to take my word for it. That's a little glimpse of the deathless and the unborn, of peace, nirvana. cessation of grasping, cessation of clinging, and the cessation of suffering. Is that helpful? Yeah. Okay. So, one of the things that I want to point out about the Dharma in this context is, from a philosophical point of view, the Dharma, the symbols like that are on the altar, are a self-referential display of this ultimate nature. And so, well, what does he mean by that? What I mean is that the ultimate nature of all existing things is not just pointed to by the Dharma; it is also displayed by the Dharma. So the metaphor that is often used in Buddhist teachings is that the Dharma is a finger pointing at the moon. So don't get attached to the finger. But what I'm suggesting is that the Dharma is both the finger and the moon, simultaneously. See? So in terms of the Buddhist discourses, for example, the Buddhist sutras, the Dharma, I will give an example to clarify. When the Dharma, when a sutra talks about dependent origination, that very statement regarding dependent origination is itself a dependently originated phenomena. So it speaks of that reality and simultaneously is that reality. In other words, you don't have to go anywhere else than that statement to comprehend what the Dharma is getting at. Or many of you know the Heart Sutra. There's a line in the Heart Sutra. All things are marked by emptiness. That statement itself is a thing marked by emptiness. It's not that emptiness is over there, right? So the very statement is luminous with emptiness. So the Dharma simultaneously speaks about the deathless, the unborn, the presence of eternity, and is a presentation of that. Now, all things are marked by emptiness. That is true. Rocks, the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars, the car going down the streets. But not all things speak about the transcendent and this luminous presence. That's the difference. And that's what makes the Dharma so valuable. It isn't only marked by emptiness, the Dharma is aware that it's marked by emptiness. Okay? So that's what makes the Dharma valuable, precious, unprecedented, wonderful. So in terms of our home altar practice, the symbols that are on the altar, are symbols of the presence of the deathless and the unborn. So the particular symbols vary from tradition to tradition. That's not important. But what they symbolize is not something that is somewhere else. It is present in the very altar itself. Okay? So that's the point. So the altar can function. That's why the altar can remind us of the presence of eternity. It functions as a gate, as a gateway. Now, the danger of an altar is that people tend to fetishize religious objects. So that's the danger. And that is that my altar's better than yours. More effective. Neater, niftier, more holy. All that kind of stuff. So when you start fetishizing the altar, fetishizing the altar means the mind of clinging arises. And so that I occasionally on the internet forums see intense arguments over what should be on an altar and what should not be on an altar. It's hysterically funny, but sorry. So, like whether you should put flowers on the altar or not, whether you should put fruit on the altar or not, whether you should put this on the altar or not. I mean, it's like that kind of mind. That's what I call fetishizing the altar. Like turning it into kind of a magical talisman. Like what that does is it actually closes the gate on the transcendent, because then you start thinking that this particular object is marked by emptiness, the holy, the transcendent. Other things are not. So that's like I say, that's the danger of a home altar practice. The people start getting contentious about their altar. So if you see that kind of mind arising about your home altar, my suggestion is to change it immediately. Remove something or add something. Just shake that. So. Yeah.
This is very interesting. I always got to grapple with what the point of an altar is, and I do think sometimes, rightly or wrongly, that it's supposed to be charged with a certain power that like a chair or a TV set isn't charged.
Right.
And that there's some kind of concept that there are unseen spirits around that are drawn to the altar. And I just wondered whether you're putting it in a whole different light, and it's fascinating the way you're putting it. But I just want to see if you can respond to it. I would believe that in some of these countries where you see altars in every household, that some of the households would say that the altars are a power center in the house other than other parts of the house.
Well, I think an altar can be a power center. I mean, so in Korea, there was very definitely the view that in some sense the ancestors were present, at the ancestral altar, that you weren't just perfunctorily honoring your ancestors. They were in some sense nourished by the altar, and therefore present. In Taoist altars, there's definitely the feeling that deities are drawn, So I know when I was in training to be for Buddhist ceremonial, it was explained to me that the reason you snuff the candles, that you don't blow the candles out, that you snuff the candles out, is that certain devas are drawn to the altar, and if you blow the candle, the flame will go sideways and singe them. So there's that kind of, and I don't dismiss that out of hand. That there are other realms of living beings that interact, with our realm. I'm just speaking personally that I don't dismiss that. But even if all of that is bracketed and put aside, the altar is charged in the sense that it reminds us effectively of, like I say, the deathless and the unborn. Not everything is equally effective at communicating the transcendent. Even though everything in existence is marked by the transcendent, not everything is equally lucid at presenting the transcendent. And that's the difference. So if I read a book about gardening, everything that the book, the garden, the flowers, the seeds, the plants, all of them are marked by emptiness, the transcendent. All of them are luminously present with that reality, but I have to make an effort, I have to infer it. I'm not assisted by this book in becoming aware of that. If I read, say, the Heart Sutra, or any one of or the Metta Sutta, both of those are really nice one-page short texts which speak directly to the presence of the transcendent. And so I am assisted by that, by those works. And, oh yes, that's right. There it is. I am reminded, I am helped. And the same is true with the home altar. The reading of discourses and the contemplative reading of discourses helps the mind. The practice of meditation brings the body into the practice so that the body is aware of the presence of the deathless. The altar brings the sensorium into the practice. So the senses need to be incorporated into the practice rather than negated from the practice. So when I say the senses are brought in, the visual sense, the sense of smell through incense, the sense of hearing, say through a bell, all of those. The sensorium is normally very diffuse. One of the purposes of an altar is to bring the energy of the senses into focus, and then so that the sensorium can also participate in the practice. Not just the mind, not just the body, but the senses themselves. Is that responsive to your question?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I don't think there's any question that if a Buddha figure is venerated and you show devotion to the Buddha figure, that it takes on these sort of vibrations that you return to it. I know when I was living in the Zen Center, our Zendo people would come in and they'd comment that, God, what is that feeling? There's this feeling, the Joriki, that's in Zendo. Sensitive people would come in and they'd say, I can feel that. What is that? And it's undoubtedly true that these vibrations accumulate. And the same thing goes for Buddha figures. And I have a story that I used to take care of the altar, and I had this feather duster that I didn't want anyone else to use because it was just for the Buddha figure, and I didn't want to, dust the moldings or anything, or the bathroom or anything like that. So I would dust the figure, and then I'd take the feather duster and bring it in my room. And after a while, I began to realize that the feather duster took on some of these vibrations, because it was glowing, not in a visual way, but it had this kind of energy. And so I had to get rid of it. I had to take it out of my room and put it in the closet, because it was disturbing to me. And I think it's okay to acknowledge that those kind of vibrations, and really accept that these vibrations are conditioned themselves. The vibrations are conditioned. So if you realize that they are actually a temporary thing, you can be okay with it.
I'm comfortable with it.
It's like you can take it or leave it.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. The home altar practice, the daily practice of the home altar can be very simple. You asked about, would a picture of the Buddha and a candle be a home altar? Absolutely, it could be a home altar. Some people's home altars are very simple. Like a small statue, or a picture, and the ceremony can be very very simple as well. But the basic elements of a Buddhist home altar would be a statue. Shakyamuni Buddha is a fave. But a lot of people have bodhisattvas of various kinds. Where the statue should be attractive to you. It should be pleasing to you. Like it should be something that you enjoy being around, and that's the key. Many altars have more than one statue. I have a Shakyamuni Buddha in the middle, and then on each side I have Kuan Yin and Hotai. And candles, incense, and incense holder. So those are the three basic elements: a statue or a picture, candles, incense. All the altars of all the traditions I know have that. Have those elements. Might be a tanka in a Buddhist tradition, like a painting instead of a statue, but some kind of image, which incidentally brings up a question for us Westerners. Isn't it? Doesn't ultimate nature have no image? So how can the imageless, take form? And I have two responses to that. One is that the human mind generates images for every single concept that appears, or more accurately, every single concept arises out of an image context. So it's impossible to avoid image. Better to make it conscious than to have it be unconscious. Most people are not aware of the image layer of their consciousness until they come across an image of a concept which conflicts with the subconscious image that they hold. So, here's an example. When back in the civil rights movement days, when I was quite young, people first started producing Christmas cards of a less than blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus. You have no idea how people react to that at first. It was really intense. It was very, very disturbing to many people. And the reason is because they had this very strong subconscious image of what Jesus looked like. Actually, we have no idea what he looked like, but we have a rough idea, like a statistical idea. He didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes, but whatever. So, every idea that we have has an image component to it, and you can access this if you through a meditative process. It's out of awareness of the geography of mind that Buddhism has generated these images of compassion. And it takes our understanding deeper into the mind by having an image. The other aspect is a little more rarefied. Returning to the Heart Sutra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. So all things are marked by ultimate nature. All things are marked by Buddha nature, by the presence of eternity. So there's no conflict there, though there may be a psychological conflict depending on how strong our heritage is regarding this point. If there is a strong conflict, I would go with that. I wouldn't fight that. Instead of using an image, I would put on the altar a symbol. Like the 8-spoked wheel is a very good one, for Westerners in particular. It's abstract enough that it won't offend that heritage. Occasionally I do run into this. People are very, very reluctant to put an image on a home altar. There are excellent symbols to substitute for that within the Buddha Dharma. The 8-spoked wheel, very good. It symbolizes the path, symbolizes all the aspects of our practice contained in a very condensed and easily observable form. In some, I've seen on some Western Buddhist altars footprints, and which is another symbol of the path. So I think that's actually, there's something charming about that. So once again, it needs to be something that is meaningful to you and responsive to you and doesn't generate psychological conflict. Like you don't want to be at war with yourself when you go to the home altar. So some kind of symbol, candles, incense. Then the different traditions add on to this. Like a very, very common, of course, is a bell to announce the beginning. Like announce the closing of going to the home altar. Bowls of water, flowers, mandalas, fruit. If you have a sense of style, you can really, go with this. It can be very, very simple, very, very non-intrusive, or it can be very elaborate, as you choose. And then for a Buddhist, the central element is taking refuge. So, say you have a very simple altar, 8-spoked wheel. So come, light the candle, light the incense, place in the altar. I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. Bow. That's a full altar practice. Taking refuge is the core and the heart of the Dharma. That's what opens the Dharma to you, is simply taking refuge. That would be sufficient. In fact, I know many people who are very busy, not just here, but like in Korea, Thailand, in the morning, they go to their altar, they may change the flowers, change the water, whatever, additional elements, light the incense, they take refuge. That's it. That's their ceremony. So it's very traditional. But that has to be there. That's necessary, the taking refuge. Everything else is an add-on. Everything else, becomes sort of specific to a particular Buddhist tradition, or heritage, But when you take refuge, you align yourself with the energy of millennia of practitioners. It's really a wonderful. It's wonderful, and it's enough to remind you of the direction you want to go in your life. It's enough to remind you that, oh yes, this is how I want to live my life. In terms of the Buddha's teachings and in terms of the Dharma. So there are many wonderful contemplations that Buddhism has generated. And I'll just share with you my own home altar practice. I begin with an expression of gratitude for another day, another opportunity to practice the Dharma and deepen my understanding. I change the water, so I'll back up. I change the water on the altar first, and I feed the water to the hungry ghosts. Then add the water, light the candle, light the incense, expression of gratitude for another day and another opportunity, and then I take refuge. Refuge. Then there's the contemplations for everyone. This comes from the Book of Fives, so that all being I'm of nature to grow old, I'm of nature to become ill, I'm of nature to die, I must be separated from all that is dear to me, I am the heir of my own deeds. And then I add a sixth one to those 5, I am of a nature to become enlightened. And then that contemplation concludes with, it is not only I who will grow old, all will grow old. So it is not only I who will become ill, all will become ill. It is not only I who am heir to my own deeds, all are heirs to their own deeds. It is not only I who will become enlightened, all beings will become enlightened. So that's the Buddha called these the contemplations for everyone. Then there's a contemplation on my good fortune. My good fortune in having a rare human birth, my good fortune in having good parents, my good fortune at living in a time and place of relative peace and prosperity, my good fortune that I am able to encounter the Dharma in this life. All of that is very rare. So it reminds me. Then I do every day I do some reading in the Dharma. So my primary meditative practice is contemplative reading. So that I take maybe a half hour, 45 minutes, and do some Dharma reading, and then there's a forgiveness prayer. Whatever harmful, negative, or destructive deeds I have done through body, speech, or mind, intentionally or unintentionally, I do hereby repent of those deeds. Whatever harmful, negative, or destructive deeds have been done to me, intentionally or unintentionally, I do hereby forgive those deeds. Then there's the Bodhisattva vows. Then I transfer whatever merit I've generated from these contemplations to all sentient beings. Put out the candle, and I enter my day. So if you're not affiliated with any specific group, and you want to do a home altar practice, my recommendation is to keep it very, very simple. Start simple. You can always add on, as your practice deepens. Just the 3 refuges, that is sufficient. And that will be a wonderful way of stabilizing your practice. The benefits are enormous. So I hope we can all do that and quickly attain to a realization of the presence of the deathless unborn, and save all sentient beings from suffering. I want to make one quick announcement. I've been contacted by a number of people regarding my teaching, particularly of what are called the Sutra Salons. And back in July, I had some serious health problems, and I had to go through 2 surgeries. And I'm no longer able to host those salons. I wanted to communicate that so that the people understand. I'm going to get that changed on the GBF site. But what I have done is created an online Sutra Salon. The Sutra Salon online forum. It's a pale substitute to my presence here. But if people are interested, you can contact me, and I'll be happy to send you an invitation to the Sutra Salon online forum. Thank you.
Are there any announcements for today?
William, I just wanted to announce I'm looking for a room in the city if anyone has any leads for the scene afterwards.
A reminder that talks are available on the internet at the GBF website, gaybuddhist.org.
Is that a transcript or is that audio?
It's audio, MP3 files.
Thank you.
Let's not forget the Donna Bowl. I suggest a $5 donation, more or less, depending on the situation. Will you lead us in the I'll ask Jim to lead us in the
Okay. Everybody's standing. You can sit. Okay. May all sentient existence be well and happy. May all sentient existence be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May good fortune fill all the days of all the lives of all sentient existence. May all sentient existence dwell forever in the limitless realm of the ever-present peaceful heart and serene mind. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Gay Buddhist Forum. If you would like to hear several new talks per month and be notified of upcoming speakers so you can participate live, please subscribe to this podcast, like us on Facebook, and join our mailing list by visiting gaybuddhist.org.